Hart. Welcome to the Wizard Factory. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and the One Great Work Network. This channel is all about giving you the spiritual tools and mindsets to live a more empowered life. Today is May 27th, 2023. I'm excited to be here. Got a great topic, a great guest, and I'm thankful for everyone tuning in. Let me know in the comments, how are you doing today? I genuinely want to know. It doesn't have to be, if you're not doing so good, that's perfectly fine. Let's talk about it. Today's topic is the keys to your holistic freedom, and we're joined by guest David Rodriguez, who many of you may be familiar with. He's a legend in the freedom space, homeschool advocate. I'll get more into his introduction later on, but I'm very excited to have him joining us, and he always has such wonderful, insightful things to share. Let's see here. So yeah, big show today. No news segment, but of course we're joined by Rodney Goodwin as well, bringing us that astrological weather report. And hey, if you're new here, welcome to the Wizard Factory, our growing community of those seeking self-empowerment, spiritual evolution, and a tribal family. If this is your path, remember the tribe, subscribe down below, and make sure you click that bell. And as for the like button, you know what to do.
Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, let's get into it. So, how we doing today? Doing great. Ready to learn. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your comments. It's great to see y'all. Feeling great. Got some really good news this week, so I'm super excited. I might share a little bit about that later on, but you probably tell in my energy that I'm in really good spirits today. So glad to see everybody's here and feeling good as well. So some quick announcements real quick, and then we'll jump into the astrology. So let me just quickly share my screen. Do follow us on social media, The Wizard Factory, Facebook and Instagram particularly. I share, memes and different type of informational, inspirational, all that kind of good stuff, more short form, as well as, we're live on Facebook. But if you're watching on Facebook, maybe check us out on YouTube. I do want to kind of make that my main focus, a central platform for the Wizard Factory. I just think the interface is a little bit better, and I want to kind of like gather the forces there as much as possible. But ultimately, you do you. I need to share the stream real quick. And of course, if you haven't yet, do check out the initiation package of a free video course that I put together. And that link is down below. So I will share a quick video on that right quick. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just want to take a quick moment to offer you a special gift. It's the free initiation package download. This is a free download package that includes the Toolbox mini course. I created this package to equip you with all of the essential tools you need for any type of energetic or magical practice for anyone serious about their spiritual development. It's comprised of 3 parts: the circle, the breath, and the voice, where you'll learn how to cast the circle of the Magi, various breathwork techniques, including a powerful guided breathwork meditation, rune galler, and more. You'll also get access to the Inner Sanctum, our private Facebook group and Discord server, as well as some Wizard Factory wallpapers for desktop and mobile, all for free. And for those who've already seen this course, I'm happy to announce that this is a brand new remake with better production and even more information. You can find the link to get yours in the description below. So check it out and let's get back to the content. All right. Thanks, Logan, for that awesome little video. So that link is down below. Do check that out. Also, if you haven't yet, check out the One Great Work Network at onegreatworknetwork.com. This is a platform put together by Mark Passio. I believe they're up to 70 content creators now, and all dedicated to sharing the message of truth, freedom, and empowerment to people in their own individual ways, their own individual voices. So there's definitely someone or something on there for everyone. So do check that out. Also, just one last quick thing to give you an update on the show. So the news that I was talking about earlier, I got a job offer for a trucking job that's going to be going over the road. So I'm in the process over the next couple of weeks, going to be getting my stuff together. I actually have to get a truck as well, and really excited about that. But as you can imagine, they're going to put a little bit of strain on the show schedule, let's say. So it's very likely that I will have to miss some. I don't know how long, maybe a few weeks worth of the show. I'm going to do my best to have some content made up and scheduled out so I can be posting stuff in the meantime to keep y'all satisfied with something. But my intention is I'm going to get a mobile hotspot. So I'm going to do everything I can to actually keep the show going. Once I kind of get in my groove, get all the equipment that I need, I'm going to be setting up a studio inside my truck and broadcasting same time, noon central every Saturday from the road. So again, it'll take me a little while to kind of get that set up. So definitely bear with me and be patient, but I will get things back on track as soon as I can. But that's going to take a little bit, so I should be able to go at least the next week and possibly, hopefully, the 10th, the next week after that. I don't see why I can't do so. 2 more shows after today, and then I'll definitely be taking a little break. So just a little heads up there. So, without further ado, let's get into some astrology. My man Rodney, what's up, brother?
How we doing, man?
Doing well, feeling great,
Good,
excited
good.
about this new chapter coming up in my life.
Well, it's kind of syncing with things that are going on, man. You're being empowered in a financial area, and which is
Yeah,
kind of what I want to talk about today with what we got going on with Mercury. We've been dealing with the Mercury retrograde now for 5 weeks or so, shadow period, and then the actual retrograde, and we're still in the shadow period. Now, how that works is that basically when we see Mercury actually go retrograde, right? It went retrograde at 15 degrees conjunct Uranus and Taurus. It pulls back to 5 degrees. Okay. So when it pulled back, it was retrograding all the way back. So then it goes direct, and now it's forging back through that shadow period, through that area, back to 15 degrees. I think we're at 10 or 11 degrees right now. So by the first part of June, we'll be in that 15, 16 degree area and out of the shadow aspect with Mercury now. So basically what's happening is that now all of the internal aspect that we've been dealing with in context to reorganizing our thoughts, reorganizing, it's a Gemini energy, right? So it's very fast. Gemini energy is fast. It's like Hermes. It's just rocking, right? So when we're dealing with that type of energy, Mercury is the fastest moving orb outside of the moon. When we're dealing with that, what's happening? It's retrograding back, and it's pulling all that back on your internal dialogue and making you look at the energies in context to the gate that it's in. And if you're looking at your transit, you can actually see what house it's actually transiting in context to actually where you need to do work. So what happens is that when we get up to this point, right, and it hits that conjunction with Uranus at 15, 16 degrees, we are booming and breaking through, and things are going to start. I mean, June is going to be fast moving, man, because what will happen is that Mercury will move into Gemini, its home, and then things are on, and communications and things are going to start popping. You're going to see all kinds of crazy communications and stuff happening, and thing going at rapid fire and rapid speed as that catapults through that shadow aspect. And the interesting thing about this is that Uranus, when in its position right now, literally, we're looking at an 84-year transit here. So when Uranus is moving and clicking into that 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees that it's going to before it retrogrades in August, what's going to happen? We're going to literally have a fast track between the octaves of Mercury and Uranus. That's Mercury, your nervous system, your communications, everything that's going on the ground. And then the Uranus aspect is the awakening, your higher self. So bringing those two together as above, so below in context, kind of, and linking them together with the Libra energy in context to what? Your balance and your harmony. That's how you link that higher and lower aspect in context of these two placings, right? You're working with what? The air element that soars, that's your thoughts, right? So basically what's happening is here's that the theme is that the breakthrough is this, because it's in the Taurus gate. So there's two things here, two themes. Number one, what's holding back the abundance and freedom in your life? This is number one. And this is where we should have been going internal with this retrograde with Mercury, as this, I was retrograding back in the Taurus gate and going direct. Now we can begin to look at where are the areas in my life that I need to change, because Mercury is fast moving and it's all about change, but not change to being, like comfortable, like what you're doing, Logan. You're taking a step out here and you're doing something that's empowering you to an entrepreneur aspect, right? Getting your own truck. I mean, you're getting into a position now where you are more in control of what you're doing in your own life.
Right.
That's what this transit's all about. It's becoming more in control and dictating to truth and to freedom in your life where you are being held back. Taurus is the financial gate, so it represents what? Abundance in finances, and also those things that are limiting you in context to your freedom, because Uranus is sitting there. So Uranus is the planet of freedom. It's all about breaking through, being the rebel, not going against the norm. Going against the norm, not being dictated to you by governmental or man-made laws that are toxic and contrary to actual truth and freedom. And so that's what the Uranus is, the maverick. It's what it represents. So when you're sitting there with this energy as it breaks through, it's on. So everything that you've planted on an internal level, all the seeds that you've planted down over the past couple months, in context, even going back to the first of the year, especially with these eclipse energy that we're still dealing with, and then also the new moon in Taurus at 29 degrees conjunct Sun right there. When we were dealing with that, this is all about those financial and those seeds that you sowed to your values and to your freedom. Now it's on. And now the manifestation is going to come in context of Mercury transiting Uranus and then moving into the Gemini gate. So this is what this is about. And so you have to begin now to cultivate those seeds and then put it into action. Because Mercury is all about action. It's all about it's fast moving, man. It's all about getting it done on the ground. And so when we're dealing with this type of energy, we're having some help, some major help. Pluto, Big Daddy Pluto, the power planet, is what? It's squaring off with Jupiter and the nodal aspects, north and south node. So what are the nodal aspects? It's the compass. Basically, it's your north and south star. So your north star, your purpose, where you need to guide towards, where you need to navigate towards. Your south star, where you need to heal. Okay, so we're dealing with the financial axis in context to Taurus and Scorpio here. Okay, as well. So when we're looking at this, we have to realize and look and take an honest look. Where in my life am I being a detriment to myself? Is my internal dialogue still jammed as I'm speaking about myself within myself? I did a little podcast, 2-hour podcast with a couple of friends of mine. And at the beginning of the podcast, I put in a little clip. It's the elevator scene at Revolver. And he's in the elevator and he's having this internal dialogue going on with himself. And he's dealing with this narcissistic aspect, you know, and the narcissistic aspect is telling him, I control you. You can't do anything until I tell you to do it. I'm old. I'm here. Everyone else, it's us against them. And it's driving this narrative. And so he's in there and he's got his eyes closed and he finally comes to the realization of what? You don't control me. I control you. See? And so this is where we have to allow that ego now to actually take a real look at it and see where we're destructing ourselves, where we're causing detriment to ourselves, and still not allowing the magic to flow in context of manifestation. See? And that's what this transit all about. We're getting some help from Pluto at squaring it right. So it's helping us to, the power there is causing tension and it's helping to break through. And Jupiter setting conjunct the nodes. And what's happening? It's expanding all this energy and literally making us look at that mirror, look at where we do need to change, man. So this is how things are setting up right now. And and we talked about some of the weather things that are going on. Look, man, since the first of the year, we've had 56 volcanic eruptions on the planet with this Taurus, with this
Really?
Centaurus, and with Jupiter actually moving into the gate now.
That's insane.
56 volcanic eruptions already this year. We just had one the other day. So we're looking at the earth is what? It's moving energy. It's displacing energy because it's moving it to a different direction, right? Because there's things happening on the internal level in context of vibrational correspondence and the collective mind. See? So there's rumblings going on, that's happening. I mean, I was looking at a few videos the other day of what's happening in France. There's a lot of disruption going on right now with France. And really, if you think about it, I mean, the last time Uranus was in Taurus was the revolution in France.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You see how that looped? You start to see how, and that was the beheading of Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
See? So the cycles are always there. You just have to, you have to dig for them. They're there, but you just have to looking and see what's going on. But taking it back to our own internal work as individuals, this is how we do it. And then the transits and just like, okay, so the other thing that we've got going on is we've got a full moon happening in Sagittarius. Guess where that's happening, man? 13 degrees, conjunct the U.S. ascendant. So this is a conjunction with the United States ascendant or rising sign with this full moon in Sagittarius, which is what? Has everything to do with the bigger vision, man. Has everything to do with independence, freedom, truth, seeking truth, finding solutions, honesty, integrity, connecting to cosmic principle and cosmic law, and then challenging your belief systems and values. See?
Exactly the stuff we'll be discussing today.
Yeah, and that is good. That's happening June 3rd, June 4th, with that full moon in Sage conjunct the ascendant of the United States. So this is going to be a collective theme in context to our country. See, so we can really start to see some rumblings take place with the natives. To like, hey, man, something's not right here because we know that the things that are going on, in context of the mind virus and the parasite and what's happening in government, what's happening with politics, what's happening with all the bullshit, right? We know that ain't right. And things are going to start to really come to the forefront. We're really going to see some exposure. We're really going to see some things come out into the light that have been hidden for a long time. It's going to collapse some of this shit, man. I mean, especially, and this is the other thing I want to encourage everyone. And Logan, you're doing it. Keep putting out content. Keep forging truth. Keep releasing that content. Keep putting it out into the ethers with intent, with your magic, with your heart, with your love, with your passion. Keep doing it because look, we are making a difference. We are. And that's the thing is that you can't just look at it, oh, it's just me and I just, no, we are running a collective in context to our connection. Yours and mine, yours and whoever, it's all a network. We are running energy. We are projecting it in context to our own individual path work and the frequencies and vibrations that we are holding here. And so that's what this transit's all about as well. The Sagittarian energy. It's all about putting it out from your galactic center, the truth. This is the quantum realm. This is how we do it. And when we're integrating that and then we're booming it out with our content and we become relentless with that, man, it is breaking some shit up, dude. It's powerful.
I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. So we've got that going on with the full moon, and then the other thing that we've got going on, which I'm going to continue to bring up over the segments that we're doing over the next year, off and on, is a square with Neptune and the galactic center at 27 degrees. So basically, what we're looking at here is that there's a dissolving of boundaries that's taking place. Especially with Saturn sitting in Pisces, all these boundaries that have kept us into a slave mentality, that have kept us in line, in order, tried to keep us in places where you can't go here, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, you know what? We got to get the big middle finger to that shit, because those boundaries are being dissolved right now with this particular transit, and we're starting to see that these limitations that have been put on us in context to our state of mind have to be challenged, and we have to challenge them within ourselves first and then to the collective consciousness. And when we do that, we are literally setting a precedent now that we're just not going to lay down anymore to this bullshit, and that is the actual mindset that we have to have as warriors, because we are warriors of the aeons, literally. I mean, that's how I see it. And we're bringing bringing the truth, we're bringing our energy, we're bringing our frequency, our vibration, leveling it up, and we're putting it out there. And this is what we have to continue to do. We have to continue to kick ass, man. So this Neptune is going to increase our psychic abilities, this transit. It's going to dissolve the linear time aspect. It's going to make us look at things on a multidimensional level, and connect our higher and lower selves in context. And then also there could be time slippages where we're going to see like, oh my God, man, what the hell happened to the time? All of a sudden it's like a catapult. It's like, whoa, that 3 weeks just felt like 2 days. We're going to see this type of thing this next year go on with this particular transit, because we really are dealing with the Neptune energies in a very powerful way. And when those are conjunct, and that's 12th house energy, when those are squared off with the galactic center at 27 degrees, the galactic center is the quantum aspect in context, see? So we're really dealing with, everything on the microcosmic level or on the internal level as within, right? From the micro to the macro. We're really dealing with that as we are seeing all the projections take place on in context to the reality field, and everything being challenged to the 3D world as Uranus is setting in Taurus. And it's going to start breaking up the programs. It's going to start breaking up the fallow ground. It's going to start cultivating. It's going to start basically plowing shit up. And that's what it's been doing. And so with Jupiter in the gate now, charging the gate with Uranus, things are growing, they're fast tracking, rapid fire right now, man. So get ready. June is going to be fast, man. It's going to be fast. It's going to happen fast, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that's striking me as you're talking here, I'm just really marveling and kind of really appreciating the ebb and flow of things. We're all living here in the universe, which means the one song. And what is the component that makes good music? As a musician, Rodney, I know I know it's tension and release.
Exactly.
So you've got this building up of energy and like, the tightening, right? And charging up, and then it releases, and it's explosive and it's expansive. And this is the cosmic dance of evolution. It's not
Yes,
just a linear path. It's that ebb and flow, right? The
that's
law of
right.
rhythm, right? There's always that oscillation going back and forth. Because if a song was just nice and pretty and all major chords the whole way through, I mean, in your head that might sound nice, like, oh, that's such a nice song, right? But it's so boring. It's not interesting. It's
Right.
that drama that makes a good story, that pulls you in, and that makes you feel like you fucking earned that
Right.
finale, that conclusion, that
Yes.
resolution.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I just love
that's
I'm just
why
appreciating the process.
that's why a great rock show can change the world, man.
Right.
But yeah, that's why you need the squares, because the squares and the oppositions create tension,
Hmm.
and you need those to evolve as a human being and carving out your soul expression in context to your sun. So you need your sun, you need the moon, you need these energies, and when those get out of balance, where do you have to go? You go to your nodals, because your nodals are your compass. See, and then they help you with the reality check in context to bringing things back into balance with your sun and your moon. And that's how the nodals are supposed to work. That's how I see them. And so when you're looking at the collective nodals right now are in the financial gate in context of Taurus and Scorpio, it's also about values and belief
Hmm.
systems. So with Jupiter setting in the Taurus gate, it's challenging our belief systems, or where we've been lied to. The belief systems, right? So where we've been lied to and what we have believed as truth, when it hasn't been truth at all, it's been a lie.
Mm.
This is what's being challenged with Taurus setting there in context to, I mean, with Jupiter setting in Taurus in context to the gate and our values and belief systems, man. And with the
And
Sagittarian full moon, it's going to illuminate onto that, see? Because it's setting there at 13 degrees, and it's, pretty much mid gate. So it's going to illuminate where we need to recalibrate our mind to truth.
and looking at this same theme of tension and release, if you're being lied to, if you're buying into illusion, your
Yes.
mind is deviating from truth. And
Yes.
that's going to create tension, because you're
Yes.
you're at odds with natural law, and your behavior will be reflecting that. And then it's putting pressure on that lie, on that, house of cards. Eventually it's going to crumble under its own weight, and then there's that release where the truth comes rushing in. You're liberated by it. It's very destructive at first, but then ultimately that's
Yes.
going to send you to the next, the next level. So
And this is how the karmic aspect works in context to ignorance, because it boomerangs back at you, and hits you in the head, and you're just like,
exactly,
holy shit, what was I thinking?
you
you
reap
know
what you sow.
yeah, and then you make the recalibration, see, because you're like, oh shit, I don't want to do that anymore. And so some
Yep.
people have a lower bottom than others, but again, the tension is necessary so that we can recalibrate and bring things back into harmony and balance in context to Libra. And that's where we have to stay and live. And then when the tension is created, to that aspect, we learn then as wizards to go into the polarities and use them into our advantage and favor, and work with the positive and negative charge, your sun and your moon, right? And then be able then to work that in context to what we're actually putting out with our intent. And that's how actual magic works.
Absolutely.
So,
Great stuff, man.
yeah,
You're charged up today, and I love it as
yeah,
usual.
yeah,
So,
man.
quickly tell people where you'd like them to find you and your services and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at Hardcore Productions on my Facebook page. You can book a session there. Um, you know, um, One of the things I wanted to say real quick was with your moon energy, with this full moon in Sagittarius, with the cycle. That's a full illumination of mind, and that is bringing things into an ending, and then bringing it to the new moon to a beginning. So when you're looking at the full moon And where it's at, you can go and look at the transit and see what house is actually transiting that particular energy. And then you can look at it and see, okay, so it's my sixth house. Okay, so these are health issues. All right, so now I need to look at where my health is in context and see where I can fine tune things, because that's where the energy is falling in your transit. It's where it's actually transiting, what house is actually transiting in context. So, that's why transit readings are so powerful, because they help you level up in context of the alchemical process and the transformation and transmutation process in your life, and bringing yourself into a place where you're actually working with high planetary alchemy. And that's my forte. I help people do this. I help them get through situations in their life. I just did it for a lady. She hit me up last week. She texted me back. She goes, "Oh my God, I did what you told me to do. And and then I said it, and boom." She goes, I have absolutely had major breakthroughs this week because of what you showed me on the transit, and how to navigate it and what to do. And so this is so powerful, guys. And and the other thing is that you can learn how to do this transit work yourself, which is my ultimate goal in teaching, is so that then you can do it yourself and you don't need me anymore. See? And that's what an actual teacher
Yeah.
should be doing in context to teaching. And then you don't actually need that teacher just for, bounce things off once in a while, but you are doing it on your own now. And that is how we evolve, as with our consciousness. So Hardcore Productions on Facebook, you can book a session there. My website is hardcoreproductions.com. Go to my YouTube page, Hardcore Productions. I've got new video. Podcast that's just uploaded. And then also you can get a hold of me at Rodney Goodwin. You can get a hold of me on Messenger there. And my link tree, you can get all of that if you just go to my link tree, which is in the description below.
Beautiful. Thank you, man. Appreciate you sharing your time and energy and wisdom with us as always.
Yeah, man, it's on, man. And then the first
Dude,
of
let's
June,
fucking do it.
man. The 1st of June, shit is on rapid fire, man. Boom. We
1st of
have
June.
we got no retrograde in Gemini, so it's going to be running the whole gate, man, direct. So we're
Got
definitely
it.
on it, man.
Right. The gates are opening,
Open
the
them up.
little guns going off, and it's
Yeah.
time to freaking go, because we've been building up that tension and now it's release time. So
Yeah, and it's like the horse in the gate, man.
exactly.
Ready for the bell. The bell is getting ready. June 1st, man. The bell is on. So just understand, guys, that this is the time for you to actually put things into action now. Step into your power. Logan, good job, man, manifesting what you did, and
Appreciate it.
bringing that out. You're empowering yourself to more freedom, in your life, man. And that's really what we have to do. We can't rely on anyone else. It is us. And if you don't put it into action, you don't do it, you don't step into it to empower yourself, it's not going to get done. Period.
Mhm.
It's your Mars energy, man.
That's right. Own your spindle and
Yeah,
wield your vision.
absolutely, man.
All right, Rodney. Thank you very much, my friend.
All
We'll
right,
see you
man.
next
Have a
week.
great show. Looks like you're gonna have an awesome show, dude. David Rodriguez. Boom.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Peace. All right. Great stuff as always. So real quick, I want to share this post here, that the post of the week. And I shared this out earlier in the week, and I was really surprised by the kind of backlash and pushback from such a very simple idea. It says the quality of your life reflects the quality of your character. Very simple idea. It's not meant to be an absolute statement. It's a generality, which I clarify later. But just putting that out there, and brevity is the soul of wit, as Shakespeare said. I like to keep things very succinct and to the point, so that it has more impact that way. And obviously it did well, and a lot of people appreciated it. They kind of got what I was trying to say. But there was just a lot of people that are just projecting. That's one thing that's a very common theme with my posts, Like, that's part of why I like the brevity and the simplicity of what I'm posting, because it leaves so much room for people to make their assumptions and project on me, and kind of expose their own wounds and cracks and, issues here. So a lot of people took it as, they basically assumed that I was saying quality of life equates to wealth, and then they're like shitting on that idea, but they're already assuming that that's what I meant. So it's like, what does that say about you and your mindset? I'm not the one that's equating it with wealth. You are. So, what about people, super wealthy people that have amazing wealth and health, but treat people like shit? It's a generality and different from person to person, but overall fulfillment, enjoyment, passion, healthy relationships, a sense of purpose, legacy are all things that contribute to lasting happiness. A person can be rich and physically healthy and still have none of these things. And yeah, just all these people kind of sharing their sob stories. They're like, oh, well, this happened to me. And what about, children born into slavery and all this kind of stuff? It's like, yeah, exactly. Like, so it was to the degree that I had to make another comment to just kind of dispel some of this. It's a generality, people. Use your own sense to read between the lines. Yes, there are exceptions, but far more often it's people who simply don't like being told that they're responsible for their own life and situation, always wanting to blame something or someone else. This is the mindset of most people, ironically, exactly the mindset that leads to a shitty life. Sometimes really bad things happen and it's not your fault. I'm not saying otherwise. But personal responsibility always trumps a victim mindset. One always outperforms the other in actual results. Got limitations? I genuinely feel empathy for you. Do what you can with what you have, and you still can do something great. Excuses are worthless. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's tough love. I want more for people than what they're giving themselves, but I can't do it for them. So, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this that you can kind of unpack. It's like, well, first is, what is quality of life and who determines that? Well, like with most things, there is an objective and a subjective aspect to things. So first of all, it's somewhat up to the person. Like, are they fulfilled and, and content and happy in their life? If that's so, for the most part, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because it's their life. But then there also is such thing as objective good and bad, right? Like these things that I said. If you have meaningful relationships, a loving family, lots of joy, you have a sense of purpose and passion. Like, these are things that objectively contribute to a good quality of life. And likewise, if you're, stuck with like no resources, a bunch of people dependent on you, you have very little like freedom or say in what you do, all your time is eaten up with obligations and all this kind of stuff, like, that's objectively a low quality of life. And most of the time, those are all direct reflections of choices made either recently or could have been years ago. This is how the universe works. Like, every choice has an impact, and it could ripple out for a long time. So that's why you need to be very mindful and conscious of what you're wielding, what you're manifesting. But again, this is just people, they don't like to be told that. They want to be the victim. Oh, like, just these things happened to me, and, it wasn't my fault. And it's like, but even if you're in a crappy situation that had nothing to do with you, that's fine. And that, I feel for you. But guess what? The bigger question is, what are you going to do about it? Right? Are you just going to stay stuck in this, oh, there's nothing I can do, oh, this is my life now? Or are you going to say, I'm not content with this. I want better things. I deserve better things in my life, and I'm going to actually make choices that reflect that. But as you know, the choices you make are only as good as your mindset. And this is bringing it back to the original post, character, right? If you have bad mindset, if you lack skills, if you lack, fortitude, tenacity, then you just don't even know what your options could be. then how can you make better choices when those things aren't even psychologically available to you, right? So that's why it has to be an inside job. You start there. Um, oh man, I had some good places where I was describing like kind of like more clarity what constitutes good character. Um, Again, you can develop your skills. Uh, you can you can cultivate like mental resilience, right? Self-discipline, that's a big one. These are things that are, again, objectively aspects of character. And another thing is like, oh, I was getting a lot is I know lots of homeless people that have more character than most people I know, and there's like two false assumptions in there. Again, you're taking it back to, oh well, they're homeless, as if material wealth is the only measure of a quality of life. First of all, that's a false premise, because if a person has true character and they're just content and that's how they want to live, and they can, you know, get their sense of fulfillment in a day to day, maybe they're doing something, then they don't need a house or something like that. But also, just because you're a kind person, that's not the only thing that's a measure of character. If you're super kind and compassionate, but you have no courage, you have nothing to offer the world in terms of actually making a bigger impact than just caring for people. I mean, again, I'm not saying that's not valuable. It's very valuable, but that alone is not a judge of character. And just because you're a nice or caring person doesn't mean you're going to have a great quality of life. Because again, exactly. Um, Lots of people are kind, but they have nothing to show for it because they're not actually going after anything. They're not trying to create a business or solve problems or, all these things that actually have like a lasting impact or leave some kind of legacy. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I just thought it was a good post to touch on, to kind of highlight how people love to make these assumptions. They're projecting their own stuff of their relationship with money and wealth, and potentially their lack of self ownership. Right? They're not. I mean, it's the information age. Like, you could literally go on YouTube and learn just about any skill you wanted to: web design, welding, like how to build a house. I mean the options are infinite. So the fact that people can't use these things to somehow leverage their passions and skills to where they don't even feel like they're working, but they're solving problems, and people are so grateful for that the wealth comes back to you. This is that law of reciprocity, the law of Gabo. This is a natural universal law. And if you're not getting that quality of life back, that means you're not giving in the right kind of way, in the kind of way that's going to attract those things back to you. Just because you're selfless and give and give and give, I mean, a parasite will just take and take and give nothing back. So you have to have that discernment in how you're spending your energy to ensure that you can lift yourself up in the process, and know there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You absolutely deserve to be compensated for transmuting those skills and solutions into yourself having a higher quality of life. So, and yes, great point. Great point, Sophie. This is reflective of the gaslighting of the system that we've been fed from birth, essentially. That this is what you get. Here's the table scraps. Shut up and be grateful for it, and never expect anything higher out of life, right? But slavery is in the mind first and foremost. You have to get out of that thinking and essentially realize your worth and say, my life means more than this. I want to have those life experiences. I want to be able to travel. I want to, experience nice things. There's nothing wrong with that. This is one issue that I have with kind of Christian and New Age mentality is it kind of demonizes these things as if you want nice things, that you're just materialistic and you're shallow, and this 3D is just a prison, it's all a lie and a trick. Like it's not, it's nonsense, man. Like this is a magical spiritual place, and we chose to manifest here to experience being a human being, to taste a delicious dish of food, to walk on the beach and feel the cool breeze on your skin and stuff like that. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think I've made my point. I appreciate uh, everyone listening. Hopefully that's valuable. I'm still kind of experimenting with this newer segment of post of the week, but I think I like to highlight where people really kind of, it's almost like they're committed to misunderstanding, and they're just trying to assume I meant something. I mean, look, there's a very small amount of words here, but look at all the words that people like grafted onto what I said that I never said. It's truly like pretty astounding, the creativity, frankly, that people can have in misconstruing things oftentimes. So, again, let me know in the comments, do you like these post breakdowns? And go follow me on Facebook. I post pretty regularly. I'm doing short posts like this that, you can just take a glance at and gives you something to think about. I'm doing a lot of reels now as well, short form videos. So definitely something for everyone. So again, hopefully you enjoy that. Take a look at the comments real quick, and we will get into, wow, a lot of comments. Stop and take action. What questions do y'all have for David? Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Glad to have you here. We're going to bring David on in just a minute. So, and he was very excited at the idea of taking some calls, towards the end of the show. So definitely be thinking about what you might want to ask him. I'm sure once we get into the topic, that'll trigger some ideas as well. But definitely, if you're going to call in, today's the day to do it. Don't be shy. Again, you can come in on video or audio only if you feel more comfortable doing that. So it's amazing. Yes, exactly. How such simple statements trigger so many people. It's mainly because the internet has more do nothings just waiting to pounce on principles of the productive. Exactly. Right. It's like, yeah, instead of arguing with me and telling me how wrong I am, you could be like learning a new skill or putting it into practice and starting your own business or something like that. So if I am missing or skipping your content, I apologize. I want to go ahead and get into the main meat of the show and bring David on here. So without further ado, welcome David to the Wizard Factory.
Hey, Logan, great to be with you. And yeah, what an honor to talk about solutions. And I was really vibing with a lot of what you're talking about, man. So I think we're going to have a rocking show.
Hell yeah. I appreciate that, man. So real quick, I'll read this bio here to introduce you. So David James Rodriguez empowers parents so that their children, empowers parents and their children by removing them from government schools using apprenticeships, homeschooling, and early high school graduation. He's the principal of Valor Academy, publisher of The Underground History of American Education by John Taylor Gatto, the world-renowned school teacher. Also, David founded Education Options TV, where he's introduced thousands of parents to voluntary learning. He's the founder of Gatto Movement, which is an acronym for Get All the Thinkers Out of Forced Schooling. He does this by providing early high school graduation for teenagers and educational consulting services for parents. He's also the host of Freedom Lovers Show, where he's building a voluntary world one relationship at a time. Born and raised in California, he sold his first business at age 26, and you can find him online at davidjamesrodriguez.com and thevaloracademy.com. So that's a great bio. And I just wanted to add to, I've been friends with you for a while, David, and, following your journey. I've seen you, especially when all the draconian bullshit happened 3 years ago. You all know what I'm talking about. David was truly a beacon of courage and principles and peaceful protest when all that stuff came down. A hero in my book, by basically standing up to authority, but in a peaceful way, and allowing them to expose themselves as the violent thugs that they are by simply saying, "Hey, we're going to the beach. We're going to have voluntary, peaceful gatherings there. We have a right to nature." And you don't have a right to deny us access from that. And you got a fair bit of backlash for that. And I admire your courage, man, for being willing to go through that, to stand up and be a great example, because that's what we need more of. Talk is cheap. You actually were, you put your money where your mouth is, basically. So much appreciation and respect to you for that, man, and love everything that you're doing for homeschooling and children, and just generally being a voice for freedom. And you have a real talent and gift for speaking, especially just in such a simple yet profound way, that just, I mean, you could just talk about freedom to pretty much any normie in a way that they actually get it, and they're just like, oh wow, I never really thought of it that way. So that's my little addendum to that introduction. So I know that was, a bit long-winded, but I just, wanted to convey, to give people the big picture of what you're about, because you really are doing a lot, and I'm grateful for that. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. It's it takes a champion to know a champion. So I see what you're doing as well, creating great work, and it's incredible to know that we're born free, and the slave system has been going on for a long time, and it's all around us. And so what we did down there in Santa Cruz is amazing, and there's a lot of supporters and such, but somebody's got to ignite the fire. And after going to freedom conferences for a while, I see amazing people, and I'm looking for the positive, enthusiastic freedom guy. And then you look up to people and you meet people, and then you're like, I guess I'm the guy. It's like, hey, somebody should do that. It's like, okay, I guess I'll do it. And that's
You're
where the
somebody.
evolution. Yep, exactly. You're somebody. Anybody listening and watching this is somebody. If you're tuning in here, realize that you're a chosen one. If you want to accept that idea, but you're very significant, because as you tapped into so many great points so far in the show, but the victim mentality must be overcome now. That mental defeatism must be overcome now, if you want to, on a voluntary basis. But people do have these habits of thinking where they are a victim and they can't do it, and it's excuse. But it's like, who's responsible, man? And so I appreciate those kind words, and hopefully we'll keep activating and create some intergenerational freedom, and continue the great self-ownership awakening that's happening right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I characterize it as learned helplessness, because you can really see this, and again, as a person who focuses on education, like, this is a big important aspect of being a steward for a developing young human being. Is you have to start that from an early age. Give them enough responsibility, not so much that they hurt themselves or have some kind of traumatic event, but other than that, give them something that they can handle, but get them used to the feeling of, hey, like, I'm not going to be around forever as your parent or guardian or whatever. Someday you won't have me. You're going to have to learn how to rely on yourself. And that's one of the best things you could ever do for a child, is teach them true independence.
That's right. From a young age. And this is, I think, where a lot of parents make mistakes, is they're trying to protect them. But, from age 4 to 8, they're like bulletproof almost. I mean, of course, they're emotionally young, but they want to help. You want to do the help with the dishes, help with the laundry. And you're like, no, because you're going to screw it up or you're going to mess it up. It's like, that's how they learned. You remember being a young kid. That's how you learn. We fuck it up, man. We mess up. That's how we learn. And so if the parents can keep that love of life and initiative that children have, they can win. But they cut it off so often at preschool or kindergarten. Sit down, shut up, especially for us young men. That's torture, man. And especially now what's going on in schools, man, it's unacceptable what's happening in schools, and it's seriously damaging their minds, and it's making them into more victim people that are crying over some small little pebble. And you have, these basic schools are on fire effectively. I have no idea why parents are keeping these kids in the school system, except their fear of removing them and not knowing all the answers, or being socially ostracized, or whatever's happening. But I got good news and bad news. The good news is that humanity is bifurcating into freedom communities and slave compounds. And you get to choose. You get to choose for your legacy, for your son and daughter and grand. Are you going to be a slave or going to be free? This is the choice. And so I understand a lot of parents have a lot of fear. And my mother was a school teacher in school, and I have family members that are working in the government school. I know there's good people in the system, but it's such an institution. It's such a coercive system where you got to get permission to defecate and urinate to get a drink of water. It's like, are you kidding me, dude? This is like, I knew something was wrong in the school system, 16, 12, whatever. I got to get permission to go to the bathroom. It's like, what is going on here? And then working with John Taylor Gatto, he kind of like sealed the deal. And I said, this is a big problem. And somebody put in the comments like, that is the solution. Keeping your kids out of the school system is a solution. It's an intergenerational solution. It takes time. And that's a little bit why I got in trouble down in Santa Cruz, because I thought it was on then. Like, I thought the RFID chip was coming right now. And they would have, right? I mean, they were going for the jugular, and these guys are in deep shit now because they're being exposed. However, God bless the statists who fall back into the fold of statism. It's like, oh man, that's why I love talking with you guys, freedom-minded people. I understand self-ownership and personal responsibility. It's like, we got it, man. We got the answer. So now it's just like, you're doing is creating media, and other people creating music videos, creating films, creating cartoons, creating memes, whatever it is, create, produce, whatever. And as Rodney said, let's keep making the content, and it's making a difference. That's why they're censoring us and shadow banning us, because if we weren't winning, they wouldn't have to censor. They'd say, oh, those guys are fine, but they're in deep trouble right now. So I think it's an exciting time to be alive. And there's a lot of hope too.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think that's a great kind of like setup for the overall theme. As you can see, the title today was the keys to your holistic freedom. So when I hit up David this week to do this interview, I was like, so what do you want to talk about? And he sent me this list of stuff, and I'm like, man, that all sounds awesome. How can I frame this in a way that kind of ties it all together? And essentially it kind of struck me like these are all solution oriented, and they're like keys that will unlock more freedom to you. I think people who are very aware of the problem, they get stuck in these like one track minded. Either they just think, oh, there is no solution, we're fucked, we're all slaves, the great reset's coming, whatever, there's nothing we can do, or they get kind of one track minded on one thing being the solution, like, it's prepping or Bitcoin or just like political activism or something, and that's the thing, and then they just focus on that one thing. Well, no, freedom is all about multiplicity of choice. The more options you have, the more freedom you have. So wouldn't you want more freedom? So you do that by giving yourself as many options as you can, but you need those keys to unlock the doors to have those options in front of you. So that's how I kind of wanted to tie this whole theme together. And I think a great place to start, David, is the concept of self-ownership. When I was thinking about the title for this, I was kind of thinking about that first, like, because that's always really the main thing. So I was thinking I could call it the second most important question that you can ask yourself, or just the second most important question, because the first most important question has to be, is there a truth? Because first of all, the fact that you're even asking a question implies that there is an answer that is an objective truth answer. Otherwise, what's the point of even asking a question? So if you're going to ask that, you have to establish there is such a thing as truth first and foremost. That's like the highest level. But when it comes to being a spiritual being, a human being with consciousness and the divine spark, self-ownership is that pinnacle of understanding, because it's the crux of morality and free will choice and how we're supposed to navigate and operate here while the short time that we're here. It's like the learning the rules of the game before you even start. You got to know what you're getting yourself into and how you're supposed to conduct yourself to make sure you're going to get the best results, you don't get disqualified or whatever. So the second most important question is, do you own yourself? So I'll let you take that away, because I've heard you riff on this and just like, you're so good at explaining this. So
So we started giving out free hugs in Santa Cruz, and people were freaking out. It's supposed to be this conscious area, and they were literally, it was mostly like 95, 98% positive, but some people would freak out, come up, and I can't believe you're giving free hugs. And would ask them, who's responsible for your health? Who owns your body? And it's like they never thought of it. And I have compassion on it, because nobody asked that question. In fact, I didn't even hear the word morality, I think, till I was in college. I want to say till I was like 20 or 21 in some philosophy class, learning about Immanuel Kant or something. But by that time, you got to go make money. You're a young man launching your life. You don't have time to think about and dream about. So yeah, that is the fundamental question: who owns your body? And that's where I start with people, because I'm no longer trying to project my knowledge on people, because people don't give a shit about my knowledge, but they care about their knowledge and they care about themselves. And so it's kind of the questions, the Socratic method of asking them, and if they don't know, then you can see if they're open. But that's kind of the essence of it, is that if this is my body, right, then anything that comes from my body is mine, and I'm responsible for consequences that I cause with my body. So all you city, state, county, federal government people and nice people, you have no authority over me, because I didn't consent, because this is my body, that's your body. And if you believe you have authority over my body, please, I'd love to see it. I'm really open, show me the evidence that you have authority over another person's body without their consent. That'd be great. But the truth is that I own my body, you own your body. And that is probably the scariest truth that they're trying to suppress. And I think even like with the words, right? You're a word guy too. So I'm starting to really understand the power of words. And when we were doing activism down there, and if you guys didn't know, the difference between a driver and a traveler and the licensing thing is a whole bunch of BS. And so I literally said that to a cop. The cop says, "Is this your car?" It's no plates on it. I said, "Do you know the difference between a driver and a traveler?" And he says, "Are you a sovereign citizen?" So immediately they're trained to, see somebody as a sovereign citizen, and then it just ends the conversation. So I stopped using the word sovereign, because it's been bastardized, just like it has, in my opinion. And we're creating with our language. So I think voluntarism is the future of the conversation, because it's a clean word, powerful word.
yeah.
And the number one concept is self-ownership. So yes, so that's it. So the key truth is, who owns your body? And if you have nowhere to start there, because we got to have conversations. Although I'm not really trying to persuade anybody anymore, I think it's time to build. And so I think it's about strengthening ourselves, empowering ourselves, getting our own money, health, and relationships right. And then again, like the example that you said of, hey, demonstrating it, being the model, being the example. I
Show
think
them
that's the
is
way
better
forward.
than telling them, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that. And you were talking about sovereign citizens. I just had a ex-cop, Dan Arnold, on the show last week, and we literally were talking about that. He was actually on the force when they started having meetings and literally labeling these people as terrorists.
Yep.
Because it's like, oh, we got somebody that thinks they have rights or whatever. I mean, it's just the mindset of that is just absolutely mind-blowing. And the fact that people put these people on a pedestal and call them heroes is just, appalling to me. But I mean, it again, taking it back to self-ownership, it absolutely has to start there, and understanding what your rights are, because I kind of see it as twofold. A right is an action that does not cause harm. Therefore, you have the right to do it. You have rights in terms of performative rights, and then you have inherent rights, which is essentially, what are you born with? You're born with your body and the ability to create through your work, through your effort. So anything as an extension of what you use your body to rightfully acquire, whether through voluntary trade or craftsmanship or whatever, those things are your property, because all rights are extensions of property rights, right? Even the action aspect is an extension of that, because it's like you can do with your body and your property whatever you choose to do, as long as it's not causing harm to anybody. So that's just like the basic ground rules of, hey, stay in your lane. You know, your freedom ends where mine begins, and you're welcome to do whatever you like, as long as what you're doing isn't starting to impede on my freedom, because we all, again, we're sovereign beings. I'd love to talk about that too, how that word has been bastardized, because I mean, it's just like anarchy, something that's so pure and even divine, I would say. They can't stand that. They have to, because more people are starting to talk about this. We've got to twist it. And I mean, like the word woke. Woke used to mean, kind of aware of conspiracies, and the government doesn't care about you and stuff like this. And now it means something so completely different now, because they've hijacked that word and associated it with, the left, essentially. But the way I see it, autonomy and sovereignty are like the internal and external aspects of freedom. They go hand in hand, because autonomy says, I rule, make my own law for myself. And sovereignty says, no one makes the law for me, or no one has authority over me. So autonomy is, I have authority of myself. Sovereignty is, no one has authority over me. And then you have to extend that and apply that consistently, of like, well, if this is true for me, then it's true for everyone else. Therefore, I respect their sovereignty by not violating their autonomy, because how could I advocate through action doing something that I could not possibly do or advocate for myself? Because consent, it's built into the word. It's what you're agreeing to. You can't agree to have your consent violated. It doesn't make any sense. So it's just simply having that logical and moral consistency. And it's such a simple thing. You said you didn't hear morality till you were in school, and it was like philosophy, and like it's like this kind of overly intellectualized academic thing, when it should be the most simple thing of like learning your ABCs or the colors, right? It's just, hey, don't hurt, don't steal people, don't hurt, or don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. That's basically as simple as you can make it. It's like a child could understand that. Yet look at our world. We have immoral children running around in biological adult bodies, just violating each other, and actually thinking it's the right thing, or that it's somehow necessary, or the ends justify the means.
Incredible. Yeah, it is, man. What the comment here I saw was great, which is sovereign citizens an oxymoron, and it is, right? Which is, you're either sovereign or you're a citizen. That's like saying you're a king peasant, or you're a pregnant virgin or something. It's like, well, which is, so you try to explain that to somebody and they can't
a
get
royal
that.
slave.
Yes, exactly. So this is the word magic that they use, right?
Yes.
People are saying words that they don't know. And we saw this with the whole scamdemic. People, you would ask people about, what they're saying, and they don't know, they don't care, they're just regurgitating it. And one of the other words is diversity. Like, diversity is a really great word. Like, we're all diverse, we're all unique and different. And then they took that word and now they're making it the sex thing in schools. And you're like, wow. So this is the power of using accurate language as best as we can. And that's why I do try to keep it simple. I came from a very small town, born and raised, and it's really simple. There's like 3 traffic lights in my hometown. So it's like there's nature and there's these things that are like very basic, but in this thing's complicated. So they try to complicate the things which are detrimental to their power. And they're losing, but it's important to speak about these things. Even consent, right? So as I've been studying and reading and researching, and even wrote a book for Narcapoco, The Anarchist Guide to the Galaxy, you got to get clear on how you think about things and like what's really going on. And so my conclusion is that coercion is the enemy and consent is the solution. And it's like, well, great. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to try and at least talk about it and see if you agree. When I speeches now, I do talk to basically anybody who will invite me regarding removing children from the school system, or sharing some of these ideas, because it's like, what is the solution, bro? Like, what is the solution? It's like, we got to build a voluntary world, guys, one relationship at a time, and that's through conversation, because it's through our words that we can, our thoughts, our words, our decisions, our actions, our follow through. And this is the essential point to the growth and the great awakening, is who gave you consent to do anything to me? And they hate that. They hate that we cut at the root of the cause of the problems, which is them and their coercive organizations that are hurting children and forcing people, even like property taxes, man. Like, I'm like, how long has this been going on for? Oh, 100 years, man. And they're using your money, even if your house is paid off, 1% of your property value goes to the schools effectively to fuel and fund this agenda. And that's what's so diabolical. So the other point is that understand that freedom is a new idea in the world. In terms of the Declaration of Independence, that was a great document. The Constitution didn't do too well, giving itself the power to tax people and mass murder people and call it. So this evolution of, we have unalienable rights from the Creator, is a big deal. So we're just in like this evolution of human consciousness, going from the monarchy to the constitutional republic, statism, and then to personal self-ownership, and which brings the other side of the coin, which is personal responsibility. So those two go hand in hand, and this is where a lot of people are having trouble, because we've been dumbed down for 3 generations at least, and how hard the media is still working to enslave us and make us weak and make us in fear, and we're afraid of everything, and the terror. And it's so funny, like you mentioned, the government calling freedom people or sovereign people terrorists. And I actually was at the point, this is maybe 2.5 years ago, at the very beginning of the pandemic, where I was interviewed for what some of our activism down there on television, and I called out the health department as a terrorist organization just to see if they would publish it. And it was so funny, they did publish it, and they actually put the clip in the article. I'm like, I guess some local news outlets are honest or something. So it was really funny. But to accurately call them a terrorist organization, I think is true. And that by definition, a terrorist causes terror, and they cause terror with the virus thing and everything on, that they bring terror, versus you and I, we bring peace and love. We bring honor as best we can, right? I'm not perfect, but I found out that consent is the way. Beautiful. It feels great to work with people and to connect with people and see myself in other people too, right? This is the spiritual component. It's like, oh man, we're on a spiritual experience. I love how you said the cool breeze on your skin. Absolutely, dude. I love when I see you got some long hair too, and out there in the sun, it's 80 degrees. I'm just like, oh man, I'm so grateful to be alive, to experience this, because I've tapped into something deep inside of me that has nothing to do with nobody outside of me, no organization outside of me. It is inside this temple, this body, this vessel, that is like, I feel the love. I send myself love. And if anybody knows about Dr. Emoto and the water experiments, he basically dedicated his life to studying water. Water can receive energy and hold memory. When you send love to water, it makes a beautiful symmetrical design. And if you send hate, it creates asymmetrical and ugly design. It's unbelievable, this guy, what he did. But he proved that your thoughts and your words create designs and beauty or ugliness and incongruency. And it's just a powerful thing to know. Ownership thing is the root, and we're just tapping into it. We're at the very beginning. So if anybody's listening to this, know this is the seed, and we want to empower the children and get these ideas, because consciousness is rising. Some of the things you said, and when I'm talking about, other people are starting to talk about it. You're like, oh man, like people are starting to awaken around this place, man. This is getting very exciting. Of course, we're going to see more craziness, I'm sure, from the predators, but now we can see them, and many people can see them, and that gives me a lot of strength and a lot of hope too.
Yeah, Very well said. Absolutely. I mean, it's a slow process. I do think that things are happening. I want to be hopeful. I still think where we're currently at is not nearly good enough.
Yeah.
Like if we just stayed right here, we would lose, like just
Yeah.
hands down. And I think being honest about where we're at is an extremely important, though very difficult, and sometimes can feel discouraging. But you
Mm.
just, it's like if you're in a football game and you're getting your ass kicked, like you have to know where you're at on the scoreboard to know what's required to get you there into
Mm.
the winning, domain.
Yes.
I like what you said about, like, keep in mind, like, we're just early. We get
Mm.
things before most people have. The truth is eternal. It is
Mm.
what it is. It's always been there. It's always been the case. We just get it way before the masses. We're at the very bottom of that first part of the bell curve, and we're starting to ramp up, but it's slow. But as a
Yeah.
lot of things happen that are kind of like in mass phenomena, slowly at first, then all at once, and so uh, being patient, playing the long game, but also ask yourself, like, what are you doing? Are you
Mm.
on the battlefield? Are you on
Mm.
the playing field, playing some kind of role? It could be small, it could be large, but do something at least.
Yeah.
But I like, you were talking about self-love, and that's so important, because I'll just come out and say this: you cannot love yourself and promote government. I'll
Mm.
say it again. You cannot love yourself and promote government at the same time, because you have to lower yourself and put them up here, saying they have more value than
Mm.
you, to actually have some kind of say through, and be able to force through violence, of all things. There's
Mm.
nothing self-love about that. And you can't love your children and promote the state and continue to keep them in the schools. That may be harsh to hear. I understand there's a lot of limitations and difficulties, and it's not maybe something you can just do right away. But if you aren't at least thinking about, how can I get my kids out of school, then that true love, true heart-based intelligence comes into question. And that,
Mm.
if that triggers you, just sit with that first of all. Like,
Mm.
whatever may be true now is simply a condition, and you have the power to change it. If you say, maybe it's true what he's saying, but I don't like it, that's great. That means you
Mm.
can do something about it. It's like, you know, I do love my kids. I know I love my kids. So I should start acting like it, right? I need to extend that all the way across and stop making excuses, and basically not putting their minds, their future, their, all of that in the hands of the state, who is just continuously for centuries proven that they don't give a fuck about you. They
Right.
care about themselves and growing their own power, like a cancer, like a virus. That's exactly how they operate. So,
Mm.
I mean, I just have to kind of hit with some of that harsh truth, and
Mhm.
hopefully, it can be received in the right way. But uh, David, what do you have to say about this? Because I know this is really like your number one Jimmy Jam.
I love it, man. Yeah. So, mom and dad, I know it's very terrifying and scary to think about removing your child from the school system. However, I want to tell you, homeschooling is the norm. It's the forced government school, which is the experiment. And that's been going on for 100 years. So, you've been brainwashed to not see that, number one, the world is the classroom, and anything and anybody you can learn from can be your teacher. So those are the two principles of my school, Valor Academy, to open up what's happening. Even though I'm a guest on your show, I'm learning from you right now. I'm learning from the comments right here. And so that's what
Yes.
success is: truly being a student of life, acknowledging the mystery that nobody knows what the fuck's going on this planet, except a little bit what's in our mind, a little bit, right? But still, there's a great mystery of life, and that is your existence here and my existence here. So to address that, it should give you a little bit of a sigh of relief that you don't have to figure it out. You're never going to figure it out. I thought older people knew all the answers when I was a kid, and I found out that older people are just as lost as everybody else. So, and I have a Facebook group called Homeschool Leader. We got thousands of people in there to support you in this transition. And even if it's just a thought right now, let it marinate, let it sit there and envision and dream of all the reasons that you want to remove your child. And then you get some support from that group and let these ideas come in, because it's a redefining of all these things, right? So let's talk about education. What is an education? It's not test grades, GPAs, SATs, and all that crap, okay? That's anti-educational, actually. An education is what you do to yourself to create a good life. So what do you do to yourself? What am I doing to myself? And then what is a good life? Because my definition is going to be different than Logan's or yours. And so this is your gift that source, God, universe, nature, whatever you call it, gave to you, which is you got to create your own world. You got to create your own life. What is a good life? And this is even what the Stoics were talking about, for 2,000 years ago. Live a good life, do the right thing, right? Be honorable. And so this is why we're seeing some of the good names rise, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and some of these people. But it starts with that nobody has authority over your child, okay? No matter what they say, the code, statutes, this is your child. You and your partner made sweet love. You created this seed, and then God created it, brought it out. If anything, it's your property but since I believe in self-ownership, at some point, the child owns himself. And I want to give you a good story that Rosalind Ross told me about young people being able to understand self-ownership. One of my favorite stories. So Sharius, she's her partner's on board too. So they're teaching their child from a young age to have consent and to ask permission to touch and pick up and things like that. So she asked her son, "Can I pick you up?" "Yay, mommy picks me up." Well, one day they went to a family reunion, and the little 5-year-old son's there in his personal power, and the uncle comes up and tries to pick him up without asking, and then takes a step back, throws his elbows on his uncle's hands, and says, "Hey, you mission to pick me up." And the uncle was amazed and says, "Wow, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Can I?" And the son says, "No, thank you." And he runs off and smiles and does his thing. And it's like, holy cow. So that type of power,
Wow.
I was ready for, and I'm sure you were ready for at that age. If somebody would have just freaking told me, "Hey, man, your consent trumps everything, man." And it's like, for real? Yes. This is your holiness or sacredness, man. It's a big deal to have a body. It's a big consciousness to breathe and to feel and eat and make love and dance and make art and laugh. All the things of being a human, which I know you're on that same wavelength because you said it earlier. It's like, yes, that's what it is. We're remembering what it is to be a human, what it is to have a soul, to be a spirit, or whatever you choose to believe. But it's magical. It's something amazing and something truly valuable and remarkable and like just beyond words. It's almost unexplainable, but young kids can get it. So as you are thinking about that, think about the word education. What does it mean? By the way, the core of education is a duco. That means to pull from within, to elicit, right? So your child's already a genius. They already can do it all. They're learning champions at a birth. Give them a curriculum to teach them to walk and talk, right? They want to do it. They want to do these things. So they're already there. And schooling, my definition of schooling is when someone else forces you or someone else does something to you for their own benefit. And it's natural that the state would seize your children and make them tax-paying slaves for their, most of their life, send them off to war to die in their military-industrial complex wars, because everybody has self-interest. So churches have schools, soccer teams have schools. So maybe it's time for you, mom and dad, to start your own little school in your own house. And instead of seeing yourself as the teacher, like, 8 a.m. for math and 11 a.m. for science, right? Maybe their passion and interest and curiosity, maybe that is the superpower and super strength and energy that will drive their education forward. Because as you said, Logan, at one point, mom and dad are going to go away and son or daughter are going to be by themselves. And hey, we don't want that to happen too early. We hope all protection, live a long life, but it could be today. Somebody is going to leave this existence today, and I hope it's none of you. I hope we live the next 50, 100 years and live a long life. But to know that one day your son or daughter is going to move out, and to know one day you're not going to be there. So you want them to have personal responsibility and take self-ownership of their life. So how do you do that? You give it to them immediately. And of course, I'm not saying have the 2-year-old run around the street. You know, there's some areas you got to protect the young ones. But when they say, hey, I want to help, and they're 3 years old and they're, you know, talking about helping with the laundry or, you know, cooking or whatever it is, you want to help? Great, come up here. And let them break some stuff, you know, let them break some eggs or something. And oh, what happened? Ask them questions. So in my Facebook group, I have over 20 curriculum, which I created. The word curriculum comes from the word a course or a path. So just like your DNA, as John Gatto said, an education should be as unique as your DNA, as your thumbprints. So one of my favorite curriculums is called the question curriculum. The question curriculum is where you're asking questions to the child, not to see if they know, but to help them learn how to ask good questions.
Right.
Because asking a good question is half of the answer. So because they have so many people asking the wrong questions out there, who's going to be the next president of the United States? That's the wrong question. I could care less, you know. Does it matter that much? No. The question is, how are we going to build a free world? How are we going to protect the 7 generations from now? We're going to have independent food, independent water, independent energy. Those are real questions, and those are problems that we got to solve. We get to solve in this lifetime. And it was a big awakening to realize that many of the adults I see in the world have no moral code. They have no dream. They have no vision. And I feel really sad for them because I was a dreamer from a young age. You know, my dad put me around Rocky Balboa, you know, watching those movies and Over the Top and some inspirational movies. And I was just like, I thought I was Rocky. I was doing push-ups, you know, at 7 years old and like, dun, 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 dun. And it's like that got in my subconscious mind somewhere. And I was able to activate that again. It was like, we are Rocky. We are the Christ, or we are, you know, whatever you want to call it out there, you know. I just saw a quote from Alan Watts. He said, Jesus discovered that we're gods disguised as humans, and they killed him for that. And so I know it's hard to say like we're gods or we're like divine beings. You know, there's a balance there. I think there was like a game maker or an architect or something like that. But the point was, from a young age, they want to do it. Your child wants to do it. Your child is looking for good words, inspiration. I speak as much positivity into children as I can as possible, especially from, you know, 4 to 10 or 4 to 8, something like that, because they're looking. And I remember being that age, looking at an adult and just say something good to me, man. Say something, you know, because you don't know, you don't have your identity until it's locked in on you at, you know, in your teens or, you know, 20s or whatever. And you're like, this is the way I am. And you find out later through transformational work that you are what you say you are. You are what you believe yourself to be. And
you're
you
malleable.
can create.
Who you are is very malleable. Yeah.
Right. The neuroplasticity and the amazingness of the mind and the brain it is tremendous. And I feel that so much energy. That's why I'm like super excited all the time and energetic, because it's like, dude, listen, his audience gets it. And I go to these events and it's like, well, you guys get it too? And here's the question I say to the audience. Let's make a deal. I promise never to force you to do anything. Do you promise never to force me to do anything? Yes, everybody agree? Great. We believe in voluntary relationships. You guys are volunteers and you guys are visionaries on the planet. And sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't, because it's like so fast to think, yeah, that's a pretty basic agreement. I'm not going to force you to do something. You're not going to force me to do something. And this is something that children are ready to learn at age 5.
Yeah. And hey, you know, for what it's worth, Rocky is actually a very empowering movie. It's very kind of in alignment with what we're talking about when he's like telling his son, like, look, you can't rely on anybody but yourself. You got to live your life like nobody's coming to save you. You got to, you know, solve your own problems and be a freaking man, you know, and like, you know, this applies to men and women, but definitely men more, I believe, have that role in society of being problem solvers, protectors, providers, things like that. So, I mean, you know, that's a good message for a young kid, especially a young man like you were. But also, there's something so deeply spiritual about asking questions, right? Because it's like you're unlocking the code of the universe. If you want the answers, you got to ask the right questions, right? And you were
Yep.
talking about curriculum being etymologically related to the word pathway,
Mm.
which I find so interesting because in the word question is quest.
Yeah.
Your
Beautiful.
questions direct your quest, and
Yes.
that's what determines which path you're taking and how you get to ultimately all paths lead to truth. But
Uh-huh.
your path is as unique as your fingerprint or your DNA, just like you said. So that's all
Yeah.
really beautiful the way that ties together. And
Yeah.
I like how too it kind of harmonizes with the Socratic method, because it's
Mm.
asking questions kind of puts them in control, right?
Mm. Yeah.
When you're telling a child, "Oh, you broke an egg, you messed up," like, you're imposing on them
Mm.
your truth, your judgment of what
Mm.
happened and their behavior and all this kind of stuff. Where if you just ask the question, you're putting it on them. You're telling them to think. I'm asking you the question. You have to think about it and
That's right.
and put, because the universe is cause and effect. This is
Mm.
the crux of the laws that govern human behavior. Is I
Mm.
do this, this is the outcome. So teaching children to these principles from a very young age is one of the
Mhm.
best things anybody can do, really,
Yep.
because again, back to the theme of the keys of holistic freedom being this talk here, is
Mm.
like we want to be able to have solutions for the here and now and creating a more free and voluntary world, but also we're being proactive by
Mhm.
passing that on to our children, because again, we won't be here forever. They have to kind of take the reins over and ensure everything we did today wasn't for nothing, and it just gets lost because the kids were all indoctrinated by the
Mm.
system, and their individuality and their autonomy was crushed in their formative years, because everything
Yep.
about society is set up to teach kids that they don't own themselves. Sit
Yes.
down and shut up, go to school, eat your broccoli, whatever. Like,
Mhm.
I own you. I'm the
Mm.
authority, right? Whether it's the parent
Mhm.
and then the school, those authorities are in place there to gaslight and subconsciously indoctrinate the child to eventually accepting, I'm just a slave.
Yep.
I don't own myself. The only way to have any semblance of quality of life is just to conform and bend the knee and do what I'm told, so that I don't get in trouble, so I don't get punished. This is
Mm.
exactly what instills the mindset that gets people to eventually accept, the state as their parents and the
That's right.
authorities in their life, and continue on that pathway of, I'm a slave. I don't
Mhm.
own my life. I'm not the commander of my ship. And
Mm.
that's the programming that you have to break out of, because this
Mhm.
is how the human mind works. What is
Mm.
wired together fires together. If you study Joe Dispenza, you're just
Mm.
spending your whole life on subconscious autopilot, making the same choices over and over and over again,
Mhm.
completely unaware, and therefore creating the same outcome through those same choices, all that go all the way back to your childhood. And this is where it starts. So this is why, if you want freedom, you can't just focus on today. You have to look to the future, and that starts with the kids. So I know
Mm.
you're definitely on board with that. Um,
All
I'd
right. Can
love
I
to.
comment on that one?
Absolutely. And then just to let people know, we'll probably pivot towards questions here in a minute, because I know you got about 30 or 40 minutes left till you got like your
Mhm.
hard stop. I definitely
Mhm.
want to keep time for some questions. So we'll kind of like wrap up this little bit, and then I've seen some great questions come in, like Leslie was asking about her son's choosing to stay in school, and stuff like this.
Mm.
If you've asked a question in the chat, just copy and get ready to paste that in the comments once we go into the actual Q&A section. And
Mm.
again, I'll actually go ahead and save or put the join link in the comments now and pin it. So here in just a minute, we will uh, go into the Q&A segment, and people are more than welcome to join or just ask questions in the chat. that comment is now pasted or pinned, sorry, in the chat. It's hard to multitask and everything. So, I definitely hope some people will take us up on that. I've seen great questions. So again, just when we get to that, put question in all caps and then put your question after it so we can make sure we don't miss anything. So yeah, go ahead, David, with your comments.
Yeah, I think Joe Dispenza is a champion, and I appreciate him. Bruce Lipton says something to the effect of 80% of a child's belief systems are installed by age 7 or 8, something like this. So that's what they want. They want the slave identity, permission, and habits by that age. And the state would take your child out of your womb directly if you would give it to them. So this is what they're trying to do, is demoralize mothers and fathers. And you're not qualified, and you got to have a credential and all these things. And once you realize that these credentials, these permits, these licenses, all these things are like toilet paper in general. Okay. And I have a business degree. Okay. In the real world, it's about performance. In the real world, it's about kindness. It's about love. It's about coachability and teamwork and collaboration, passion and forgiveness. This is the real stuff. So this truth is rising. Like you said, we're in the beginning. After you've seen it in all these places and you're like, okay, people know. I'm glad you brought up cause and effect. I'm like, cause and effect? Well, my studies, that's the iron law of the universe. It's like, what? How come I never heard about it? Because if you understand how the universe works, you build the world as you want. You can build your own life as you want. That is nobody, your mother, your father, your uncles, noble grandparents, your life, man, and stepping into that. And so I found out that recently was thoughts are causes and effects are conditions. Or I should say, cause and effect, thoughts and conditions. So I start to be very aware as much as I can about my thoughts, because it's from my thoughts that I speak and make decisions and create. And so the thoughts, you might have heard this one: in order to have, we must do. In order to do, we must be. So people think they gotta have something and then they'll be happy. Or we are abundant, and then we do abundant things, and then we have abundance. And then this book I read from 1912 recently, he literally said this on the back. He said, be, do, have.
David, if you can hear, you're frozen, man.
To do. It's time to dream again.
Can you hear me? Yeah, you're back now. You kind of froze up there for a minute. I guess you dropped some signal. So, but you seem fine now. So if you want to just repeat that last thing you said.
Yes. So to be, to do, to have comes from the thoughts. So as you notice your thoughts, think about where they're coming from. Think about when you heard them. When you say something, think about, where did you hear that? So you want to start inputting the goodness into your mind, because eventually then the fruits come out of your mouth and you basically become a new identity, whoever you want to be. You get to create who you want to be. Yes, you have a name, but below that name is something which is unlimited, and I believe immortal or eternal, or something seriously powerful that one person can make a difference, right? One guy, one gal out there, one child, and I believe it's your child. Do you believe it's your child? Are you speaking that life into them? It doesn't mean they got to be a freedom champion like us out here doing this thing. Maybe they become a scientist. Maybe they become an artist. Very important work to do in those areas. Musicians, we need new musicians and filmographers and all these things. So it's these types of secrets what they've been trying to suppress. And you might know, like, this is in their occult societies and secret societies. This is what they're talking about. Your thoughts are your cause, and your conditions are your effects. It's like, well, you mean just think and meditate all day? Well, kind of, but like, you got to take action. Eventually you see it in your mind, like an architect, right? He doesn't just go out and start laying bricks on the dirt. He envisions his house that he's building, and then he writes it down, and then he goes hire some people and starts building it. So there's this manifestation creation process that, as we are learning, and I can commend you on your great career move and the good positive news, for your trucking business. it's so exciting. It's like, wow, like I created that,
Yeah.
and as you said, the people's life, eventually you got to take 100% responsibility and say, yes, the world is the way it is and not the way it is. My family is the way it is and the way it's not. And I'm responsible for my life, and no more am I going to blame other people. And then that's the real awakening, in my opinion, because it's like, it's not out there. It's in here. It's in here.
Yep.
And so that's where I just have to focus inside of myself and try to, as much as I can, because I have a lot of programming still. I went to public school, I went to university, and God bless all those people who impacted me. But understanding they were brainwashed too. It's like the telephone game. You say something to somebody, and they pass it on to somebody, and they pass it on to
Yeah.
somebody, and then 5 people away, it's nothing like what the first person said. So I think this is about truth and freedom, self-ownership, personal responsibility. And if we can make that fun, because the child wants to be responsible, so let them be responsible, and then realize that personal responsibility is the path forward. It's the other side of the coin for freedom. And we, like you said, we got to be honest where we are. I definitely agree. It's fourth quarter, and we're down, but there's a glimpse, and there's a strategy, and there's possibility, and there's a lot of people awakening. I just hope some of the great, kind, courageous statists out there would eventually learn about Lysander Spooner and his essay from 1870 titled "The Constitution of No Authority." Probably one of the most powerful essays in the last 200 years, which he destroyed any legal argument that the Constitution has authority over you. And I was just like amazed that he wrote that. And you have Murray Rothbard, 50, 60 years ago. The intellectual arguments have been laid down, and now it's time to build. And that means getting stronger, strengthening our mind, getting healthy, building families, helps being a good man, joyfully giving of yourself, not necessarily sacrificing, but give and lead and protect and provide, and choose the hill you're going to dedicate your life to.
Mm-hmm.
That's my suggestion. I was a right to travel activist for 3 years and been arrested, had my car towed multiple times. And I'm like, I don't think that's the hill that I want to dedicate my life to. I respect all the right to travel people. I think there's a need for it. I think it's great. Please take action and do that if you choose. And as I look at the school system, I see the school system as a factory of slave makers and consumers and soldiers, and it's unacceptable. And as Gatto said, how many more centuries are we going to let this thing go on? And he also said all the time, energy, and effort you put to reform the system is a waste. So I took that from him, and I'm like, okay, he spent his life researching and teaching and figuring out the intricacies. And now it's up to me and us and we to build a world that we can be proud of for our children, and stop asking permission to exercise our God-given rights, our natural rights that we were given at birth. It is our birthright to be free and breathe and travel and do what we're supposed to do. And as we link up, that's why I love the comments right here, because you find other people and you start to build what Derek Bros or John Bush would call freedom cells. And you start to be in community with other people, link up with people, share, and start focusing on building community. Because I do think we're probably going to see a huge crash in our lifetime, which is going to be diabolical. And you want to get prepared for those things. And so that's part of the awakening, the birth pains of a new being, a new way of life, a new way of humanity, a new earth, if we can say that.
Beautifully said, man. And that's definitely something that I've always admired about you is you keep compassion and, empathy first. You don't get locked into the trap that a lot of these anarchists get into of like, oh, fucking statist and stupid sheep and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, these are human beings. They're under mind control. They're sick. They need help. And just like in the Matrix, when normal people can get taken over by the agents and they become an enemy, well, what happens if you free their mind? Now they become an advocate, they become an asset, an ally, and they're on your side. So instead of making them your enemy, realize the enemy is bad beliefs, lies they've been told, not the human being that's infected with it. It's the cancer in their mind. And that's a very key distinction. And again, that's why focusing on children and education is so important as well, because you're saving them from that infection, from ever spreading to the point where they're too far gone and they're hopelessly bought in, and their individuality and sovereignty is essentially lost.
Yep,
So
that's right.
great chat, man. I want to open up to some questions here as we're getting low on time. So again, anyone who wants to come on and join us, or just drop your questions in the chat with question in all caps with your question following. Let's see if I can find a couple from. So Leslie asked a while back, how would you approach a teenager who wants to stay in public high school even when given the opportunity to leave?
Hey, Leslie, great question. That's the most important thing, is let them know if you like this school, you can stay. And if you want to leave, then you can leave. And I've noticed that many teens like to stay because of the social part of it, which basically my friends are there. And if I homeschool or graduate early, I'm not going to make friends again. So you want to put them in social environments where they realize that like life is social, the grocery store, libraries, colleges, movies, you can still have friends. Your friends can come over at lunch, your friends can come over after school, but it's this time in our life where it's like, I want to hang out with my teens, with my friends. Mom and dad, you're stupid. You don't know what's going on. We know what's going on. And it's that kind of phase, but it comes from a young age as well, where like they disrespect parents and they don't see the heart and love of parents. And that was in me too. I really didn't understand, I think, my mother's love deeply until I was like 20 or 21, something like that. And I was like, wow, I came home from college and she was so happy to make me a meal. And I was like starving. And I was like, wow, Mom, you really love me. And she's like, yeah, I've been saying that for a while now. I'm like, wow. So it's different when you realize it when somebody tells it to you. And so just keep them love, let them know options. You have choice, you have freedom. And what I would say, if they're in school, I would ask them about their dreams. That's normally where I start with teens and even young people. But I ask 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15, 18, 20. Can I ask you a question? Have you found your dream yet? Are you still looking for your dream? That's different than what are you going to do or what kind of job you want, what type of career you want. It's like, what's your dream? Play big, man. You're 10, you're 20, you're 30, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You're 80. You have a life, you have a dream. And because people don't talk about dreams, we don't talk about dreams. And they've confused so many people with the American dream, that the American dream is to be rich versus to be free. And so this is where I got a lot of respect for people that are choosing to create freedom content and freedom solutions, because you could just go make $1 million, go make 10 million bucks, whatever you want. And that's what a lot of people do. But to step into this arena, like Logan and myself and many of my other friends and Leslie and some of the people on here who are creating and putting it out there to the world, you know what you're doing? You're being a hero for the planet. And you're showing other people, you know what, I can show my light. And so that's kind of a long answer to the teenage question. But yeah, as long as they know freedom of choice, they're free to go, they're free to stay. Eventually, though, I suggest that they find their dream and run after the dream. It's not important that they achieve their dream. It's important that they go for their dream, in my opinion.
Right. Great answer. I'm not seeing too many other questions coming in.
No problem, man. We could talk about exit and build if you want as a strategy.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on that.
Yeah. Again, just encourage anyone, if you have any kind of questions, just drop them below. We'll get to those. Here's one from G Street. David, are you in need for paid writers or teachers? I want to be involved in something like homeschooling aid for parents.
I'm not sure it's going to be paid right now, but it's coming. So email me at info@thevaloracademy.com and we'll stay in touch. The Gatto movement started off as a project when John Gatto was alive. And I said, John, we got to put your name out there, man. Like when I drive by schools and I see Horace Mann on the schools, like in every city that I go to, it's like, I want to see John Gatto's name on a school and John Gatto's name on a library. So he gave me permission. I said, let's use your name as an acronym, get all the thinkers out. And so I got something in the background I'm still working on. But it's the idea. It's the idea to get the kids out. And there is something in the zeitgeist now, and people call it different things, exit public schools, or, they have different names for it. But his work was so instrumental for so many people. And I think this is a great way to honor him and to empower parents. And one of my dreams is to have his name, Gatto, be a verb in the vernacular in the next 10, 15, 20 years, something like this. Just like you Google something, you Gatto your children, you Gatto your child, which is get your child out. And so get all the thinkers out is the bigger one, but then like individually is get a tremendous thinker out. Your child is a tremendous thinker. Get them out of there if they want. And like you said, Leslie, if they want to stay there, let them stay there. And what Gatto did in his documentary called Classrooms of the Heart, highly recommend you watch that. He taught his 8th grade students, 13-year-olds, 12 and 13-year-olds, that the school system was a social engineering factory. And he would point out, he said, notice that the bells ring every 40 minutes or so. Notice that you don't have freedom to study what you want, and he would help them.
Pavlovian with the bell, by the
That's
way.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Pavlovian, ding, ding, ding. So the system has been designed to create the global citizen for a global totalitarian state, and they want to delete freedom from the earth. But thankfully, as you mentioned, there are great solutions like crypto or blockchain or music or art and health and all these things. It's all holistic. And the exit and build strategy is to exit the coercive systems that are dominating you and terrorizing you and causing harm on you, and build that which you want to see. And so I've seen a private grocery store in the last year or two. I've seen private health clinics. So it's about you knowing who you are and building a contract. That's what Lysander Spooner was such a great guy in his legal mind, is that, well, even if you believe in the Constitution, there is a part of it where it says, no state shall pass a law impairing the obligation of contracts, which means if Logan, you and I make a contract, no state has the power to break that contract. So you can make a contract with anybody that you want, and you can exclude the city, county, state, and federal governments. And then you can point to them their own documents, say, hey, look, you guys said that. But as we know, they don't even follow their own documents as it comes to the 4th Amendment and 5th Amendment, spying and violating people. So the transcendence of the left-right paradigm is that you are the king. You are the supreme authority over your body and your life, and calmly assert that, calmly know that. We don't have to yell with the truth. And I get excited. I get, loud sometimes, but it's like, I have the truth. I can just say it, to some normie or some statist. We can just say that to them and ask questions. And as Socrates noted, when you ask people questions about topics that they don't know about, they're just parroting, then they get to see their own ignorance. And that's what I got to discover. I got to discover my own ignorance. And then I'm like, wow, I need to humble myself, man. I don't know what's going on here. And then they might be able to learn something. Because if you think you know, you won't learn. But if you know that you don't know, then you will learn. And then that's where wisdom starts to come into play.
Absolutely. I actually have a question for you, David. So I've been working on a presentation for Funnel 3 coming up next month, all about mind control. And I started kind of coming across some things that got me thinking. And essentially, what dawned on me was this. So I kind of came up with this thesis that I want to share with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on.
Yeah.
And that's this. There's this stigma, this general, you hear this all the time. Oh, people are so stupid, right? I see dumb people, like the what's that? The
Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense. Yeah, exactly. And I get the sentiment. Believe me, I really do. There is something off. But what it started occurring to me that are people really stupid in terms of capacity, or is that a condition? In other words, when I'm looking at this trauma-based mind control, because that's essentially how this works, is trauma fractures the identity the ego of the person, and then they trauma bond with false constructs, whether it's statism or political, or I mean, there's a multitude of things. But my point is, one of the side effects of trauma is that it keeps a person locked in lower cognitive ability and cut off from basically higher thinking. So are people actually stupid, or are they just so traumatized that their brains are shut down? And is that reversible? If people are healing trauma, can they actually reaccess and unlock higher capacity for thinking, logic and reason and wisdom and intuition, all these things that I think people have an innate capacity for? Of course, there's going to be a variance. Some people have higher IQs, and that's really a thing. Not everybody's completely equal. But I just think that the condition that people are in is not actually a permanent, like it's not like our genetics have changed, our brains have not even changed. I think it's more of like a condition of the system and the trauma that we undergo that basically has people's brains shut down and cut off from that intellectual capacity, or intelligence capacity, because intellect is just part of it. But anyways, your thoughts on that?
Great question. So I'm gonna touch on the IQ part first, and then we'll get to the capacity and the trauma. IQ is the standard of intelligence, but it just measures pattern recognition. And so there's a guy at Harvard named Gardner, and he said there's 8 types of intelligences. And so there's, of course, mathematical, there's language, and then he added musical, physical, spatial visualization, interpersonal, intrapersonal, right? And a few others. It's worth taking a look at. And then I started thinking about it deeper. It's like, oh, he says there's 8 types of intelligences. And then with the thumbprint example, it's like, I think all of us are our own intelligence. And one of our opportunities in life is to find that intelligence. And definitely the trauma, I think, does hardwire the brain somewhere, right? So this is like for sexually abused kids or physically abused kids as well. There's some wiring that shuts off and they can't, properly bond with people. So there's something there when the brain is very plastic that it can get, I think, cut off. And I believe in possibility. I'm more of an optimist. So I think people can come back, but I think also they deceive people so that people don't desire to come back. They don't have the desire. They remove the ability to create or build, and now they're just content. And this is what Brave New World is about, right? Like, not that they didn't ban books in that story. They just drugged everybody. And so that's what we're seeing now with the pharmaceutical companies. And of course, all the numbing things that we use as humans, but pharmaceuticals are a terrible one. I was with a girl some years ago, and very beautiful and amazing girl, and artist and everything lovely, but she was addicted to some antidepressant drug, and it became an issue in the conversation. And I felt really bad because she was actually in a difficult spot, and I couldn't help her because she was persuaded, she was incomplete, and she'd been taking it for so many years, and her parents approved of it. And I'm just like, that's terrible, dude. Like, I wanted to wife up that lady, but so capacity. So there are I believe everybody's a genius. Okay. So there are people who have been dumbed down. But from a young age, I think there's so much potential and so much beauty there, but it gets cut off. And it's the Pavlovian type thing where they can't think. And what is it? In fear, the brain shuts off like the neocortex and goes kind of like reptilian.
Exactly.
So I think the only way we can help people is to genuinely send them agape love and to express love to them. I did an interview. First of all, the Greek talk about 8 types of love. So everything's not sexual and romantic, right? There's agape love, which is love of humanity. And that really helped me as a man because I love my family and I didn't feel free to speak about that. But anyways, I interviewed this guy, the author of Conscious Language, very powerful book, Bob Stevens. And he said, the powerful things to say to somebody are, I love you, I bless you, and I thank you. And that was part of the message that we gave to the people who got the jab. Because the people that got the jab, many of them have been deceived and are realizing it now. And some of them didn't make it. So it's very sad. So they're not the enemy. They actually were doing it to be a good citizen or whatever the narrative was. But we send that type of love to people, and maybe eventually they'll catch it and they'll send it to themselves. But this is for interpersonal relationships, is that I can't love somebody if I don't love myself, because I don't know what that is, right? And of course, there's the scriptural, which is love is patient, love is kind, and that's true, right? And there's other ways to express it if you choose. You get to choose, but that feeling of your parents' love or love for somebody you'll give your life to, or maybe just you love for yourself, love, grateful for the hands and the ears and the smell and taste. And then this one thing here, I'll give it back. I ask people, I say, how valuable is your eyesight? And I say, well, if I gave you $1 million, would you sell me your eyeballs? And they're like, no. Well, we play the game to $10 million, $1 billion. And I said, so you're telling me if I had $1 billion right now, cash, you would not sell me your eyeballs and give me your eyesight? They're like, no. I said, that means that you are a billionaire already now in equity. You are valuable. I said, what about your smell, your tasting of it?
Damn.
Right?
That's
It's like,
powerful, dude.
oh, I'm like, dude, I said, I'm a billionaire right now. In fact, all the money in the world can't buy my eyesight,
And
dude.
that's
Buy my
just your
body.
eyeballs.
That's just your eyeballs,
You are
What about
being
you?
of infinite worth. That's
That's
proof
right.
right there. Wow.
Proof right there. So self-demonstrated, because I can say it to them, but then once they get that themselves, it's like, oh, buddy. And that was one breakthrough I had some years ago too. I was like, it is very, very precious to be in this body, to be here now. And that's one reason I don't believe in the whole, accidental universe. I think there's a greater mystery behind it, which is we're connected to source and powerful beyond our own awareness and maybe an imagination. Because once we step into that power, which is we're not afraid of death, we're not afraid of the thing that is, trying to terrorize us, because we come in total love, we come in total peace and tranquility of our heart, knowing this is the hill I'm going to dedicate my life to, or this is not the hill, or whatever it is. But we send that forth through our thoughts of how we're being, doing, and having. And then this is the kind of the traction that I feel humanity is looking for, because I've gone through the same journey too. I was a big Ron Paul guy, in 2012, and he was going to say he's champion of the Constitution. And well, when he left in 2012, he said that the Constitution has failed. And Judge Andrew Napolitano has said that as well. And so when I talk to constitutionalists, I don't say that initially, because there's a process, but eventually I'll say, you know what, even this guy said it didn't work out. So maybe it's time to evolve to a new model of how we interact. And let's just promise to use consent in our relationship. So would that be agreeable to you? I'm not going to force you. You're not going to force me. Would that be okay? Great. This is the problem. So, and then it comes to building and, entrepreneurship too, man. It's such a great thing. We're so grateful that, people are building and doing it and going after it and realizing that we can build it. Private schools, private hospitals, private grocery stores. We don't need you mega corporations. You guys got all the money, great. But we have the energy, we have the love, we have the vision of a better world for the children, and we're building it. And we're going to build it one day at a time, one conversation at a time. And that's such an empowering move versus, please, don't pass this bill or, repeal this. It's like, ugh. I mean, I have a federal lawsuit right now, and I'm trying to find some remedy. It's like, I don't know. We're going to see how it works. We're going to see how it works. Hopefully it does. But if not, I'm trying to get on the do not detain list and, use their system peacefully. Violence is not the answer, in my opinion. We do have guns to protect the First Amendment. So our voice is actually more powerful. They say the pen is mightier than the sword. There's something to that. There's something to that, to ideas and getting the word out there in a courageous way, in a loving way, in a transcendental, conscious way. So that's, I think, some of the good work that we're doing here now.
Hell yeah, man. What you were saying about the giving love, like it's like when you give love to a plant, that's what makes it grow. And your mind is a lot like a tree that, it needs that love and care. And are you getting kicked out?
My internet's terrible at my house, so I have to use the library internet. And I reserved this room for 2 hours. So we'll see. I'll try to push it a little bit, but unfortunately, the library is kind of a statist institution and no
Right.
compassion here. So we'll go until she knocks
Yeah.
again. So she'll give me a few more minutes, and
Yeah.
I can just pull out there too.
We're wrapping up anyways here, but yeah, I wanted to comment on a couple of things you said. And back to that initial question of mine is, another thing you said that really adds to this kind of thesis of mine is it's not just about even the cognitive abilities from the trauma. It's also just the mindset. If we're not taught how to think but what to think, and again, this whole gaslighting of like, you're just a dumb slave, if you start to believe that, then you're not going to think it's like identifying as a philosopher, right? People think of a philosopher as like this, like the old guy with the beard and he sits around in the temple or what, just thinking all day. And like, no, I think every human being should be or has the capacity to be a philosopher, and destigmatizing that a little bit of like, no, your thoughts, your questions have value, and you give yourself a little bit more credit. Like, just because you don't think you have big ideas or whatever, like, you could, but you have to believe that first, of like, questioning things for yourself, because people just want to be told by the media or the government, this is what truth is. You don't need to question anything, you don't need to think for yourself, we'll tell you what information you need to know. So it's like, also just, it's like that muscle has atrophied in people's minds, and they can like rebuild that strength of just first starting to ask questions and ponder things, and kind of like break them down and look a little bit deeper. that's another that's another important layer to it, as well. There's like all this kind of almost shame about, if you're a thinker, then you're a nerd, and you're not
Mm,
socially
mm,
calibrated, and you don't want to stand out too much or be asking
yes.
questions, you just want to fit in, right? If you go having big ideas, well, that gets you the unwanted attention,
Mm,
like it's, puts you at risk somehow. So,
yeah.
really, really interesting to think about. And again, it all ties back beautifully with the
Right.
schooling theme for sure.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? I don't know what your experience was, or if you went to public school. In my public school, it was not cool to be smart. Like
Right.
only the nerds were getting good grades and
And all the
smart and
kids
stuff
will
like that.
laugh at you.
That's
They
right.
literally
That's
make fun of you, like, oh, you think you know everything and whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, and it's because of this fake society, this fake community that's in the schools, right? So there's kids are trapped in buildings and they're humans. So they're going to figure out some type of pecking order and, cool and clicky and all these things. But if they're free, then they can uh, follow their own interests. They can build other type of relationship that they want. And that's what I notice, is that these relationships are forced upon us in school. So it's unnatural, and I noticed that some of my friends from school, they fell out because we weren't real friends. We're just like acquaintances, or we're just like conveniences. So this is the truth about the situation here. Yes. Yes. Can you give me like 10 minutes, please?
The next person's already here for this room, so
Okay, can you ask them, please?
you're 20 minutes past.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, trying to find compassion. So this is the challenge of being in a rural area. My internet's terrible, so I'm in the library. I'll see if I can go out here and keep it flowing here.
Yeah.
But the point was about the schools in this area that's not cool to be smart. In reality, is that it's beautiful to be smart and speak it, create it, and you are smart. You're a genius. You're intelligent. You're powerful beyond measure, and the child needs to hear that, because they are getting judged on whatever scores or tests or all these cockamamie things that are irrelevant and inaccurate. So I'll say that here, and then we'll keep it going here. My shirt says "Rule Yourself," just so people know that.
Yeah.
So
Awesome,
I'll keep
man.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's about wrapping up time anyways, so that it's all well. Definitely really valuable conversation. I love, how this turned out. I hope everyone got some value from it.
Mm.
So thank you for joining us today, David. Much love
Yes.
to you, and keep keep rocking, man. Keep, being that bastion of truth and heart-based intelligence, and love everything you're doing. Quickly let everyone know again where you like them to go find you, get a hold of you, all that good stuff.
Yes. So davidjamesrodriguez.com. And I forgot to say, we're doing a men's coaching program probably next month or so. We have a free webinar coming up. And if you email me, I'll send it to you. I don't know the exact date, but it's info@thevaloracademy.com. And if somebody joins us, mention Logan's name and we'll give Logan some commission too. But it's a free webinar, and then there'll be an offer at the end, because you heard the quote: strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create bad times create strong men. So we're in that phase right now where it's good times, and it's about to be bad, or it's all how you see it. But this is a serious situation where men are being called, and we've seen so many women at these events and protests and out there doing what they do, but it's the men who have been dumbed down by the sports and all the stuff there. It's time for us to rise. And so we're going to do a men's program that I think you or many other people out there will be interested in. It's going to be a 12-week program to transform your health, wealth, and relationships. And I'm excited about it. It's going to be a fun hero's journey. So yeah, you can email me, as I said, or go to davidjamesrodriguez.com. And yeah, I honor you, Logan, for creating and put yourself out there, being a courageous man on the earth. A lot of respect for you and organizing. And people have no idea how hard it is to organize and to make stuff happen. And you're doing that as well. So I appreciate you and look forward to the next conversation, whenever that might be.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back anytime, brother. Thank you again for that. And
Awesome.
yeah, have a great day, man. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Yes, we'll do, man. Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right. Awesome guy. Really great conversation. Lastly, before we wrap up here, I just want to shout out to our patrons. We have Edos Hugh, Slope Oak, AJK Green, and Theo Lux. I believe we're still at 5 patrons, so that's everybody. Thank you for to all of you who have joined, and that really helps out. I definitely want to keep this growing, and again, eventually open up a new tier that has a private group that and I think I can handle. We'll see how things go, but once I get settled on the road, I'll actually have more free time. So I plan on putting even more effort into this channel. I'm even thinking about running some ads to try to get some growth and get views and subscribers up. And when there's enough people and enough demand, I definitely think I would like to maybe have a kind of a monthly private group going, maybe for like $14.99 a month or something like that. I'll come up with a big list of benefits that you get in addition, but essentially would be around the a monthly private call where we do Q&A and chat about stuff, and I'll do like private rune readings for the group and things like that. So I think that would be pretty interesting. So again, if you want to check us out, patreon.com/the Wizard Factory. Would really appreciate your support. And again, thanks to those who are. So that's going to wrap us up for today. I hope everyone has a fun and safe Memorial Day weekend. Go spend some time with family, eat some good food, relax, try to enjoy life a little bit. I know shit sucks right now. We're all going through it in some kind of way, but I'm so grateful to all of you, for being here, joining, participating in the chat. Really great, comments, insightful. Like David said, I learn a lot from you guys as well. So, much love to you all. Thank you. And we'll see you next week, noon Central, right here on the Wizard Factory. Again, if you did get value, please like the video, subscribe down below if you haven't, and share this video with a friend, somebody that maybe is thinking about getting their kids out of school or wants to understand freedom a little bit better, that kind of thing. Always appreciate your support in any way that comes. But that's going to do it for today. So much love to you all. Thanks again. And of course, until next time, be empowered, inspired, and encouraged. Bye. Bye, everyone.